All right. Well, today's guest is someone who probably knows me better than anyone else because for over a decade, we built a life together. Chloe Matters is an incredibly talented interior designer, a creative force, a mother to our two beautiful kids, and yes, my ex-wife. Today isn't about rehashing the past or pointing fingers. It's about reflecting on what we got right, what we didn't, and what we've both learned about love, growth, and letting go. Welcome, Chloe.
Hi.
Hi, welcome. Okay, so before we get into it, how weird is this for you right now? Sitting here with me, knowing that the whole world might listen in on our private story.
I'm a bit nervous, I'm not going to lie. I'm nervous because I don't know what you're going to ask.
All right, well, I've got a whole series of questions. I have planned them out. I was going to ask you in a certain way, and then I've decided there's a bunch of questions that relate to like real estate, and I've just brought those to the front.
Okay.
I think I can anticipate some of your answers, but anyway, I'll ask you to elaborate. So This is what we're going to start with. And this is predominantly my audience, I suspect will be a real estate audience, but not everyone's a real estate agent. So, not the whole audience is a real estate audience. So I just want to try and cater and give value to people. So the first series of questions I've got is what it's like being married to a real estate agent. So what was the reality of being married to a real estate agent compared to what you expected?
Look, I don't think there was too much of a reality shock. I think the reality set in when we had kids, and how much I probably needed you to be a supporting role within the family more, and how unavailable you were.
And when you say unavailable, can you give me a specific example of what you mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think realistically you guys work 6 days a week, but it's actually more than that. It's 6 days a week and anytime the phone rings. So that's pretty much 24/7.
Right. Fair. So real estate looks glamorous from the outside, but what's the side of it that no one sees that impacted us the most?
I think the 24/7 nature of the business, I remember you saying to me so vividly, I've got to take this call, it could be 40 grand, and that is the value system you put on every phone call. Your transactions, there's so many of them and they're in a 4-week cycle. So there's the amount of contact that you have to have with people, buyers, sellers, and everyone in between is intense. And you're constantly searching for new work and dealing with the current work that you have. So there's really no reprieve. And I think what people don't understand is how mentally taxing that is for you. And when you have a family, it's how to learn to switch off, which I think is a greater struggle for most people.
That extends outside of real estate, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
How to be present in a moment when you're there, instead of thinking about the next phone call or the next phone call you have to do, or communication, all those things.
I struggled with that, obviously.
Clearly, we wouldn't be sitting here today.
I tried to justify it by I'm providing for the family. That was your
justification, and you were, and I think, hindsight's a brilliant thing. And you've definitely learned through our separation. I think, in fact, you went the opposite way. You took so much time off. And I guess it's just about how to find that balance. But that is any struggle of any new parent, trying to find a new rhythm and a new balance that, works with everyone. And we're in a day and age where I'm working, you're working, we have 2 young kids, we were flipping houses, we were doing a lot.
So do you feel like that level of commitment that I had was maybe not so much of an issue when it was just us as a couple, but do you feel, or was it an issue before we had children? Like, you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Did this just happen dramatically as soon as we had kids, and more support was needed?
No, I think I just felt it more when we had kids.
Right.
But I think it's always there, I think the reality is learning how to be present and switch off in between all those phone calls and trying to find a balance in between all of that and not working 24/7 is the key, right?
Did you ever feel like you were competing with my career or my staff or my clients?
I definitely did, yeah. Yeah. I felt like I was competing with your work for attention, for communication. When you came home at night, just to ask how was your day and actually listen and be present to that conversation rather than checking your phone or being on the phone or stressed about what you had to do. It's those simple touch points that we missed.
Was I that bad?
Pretty much, yeah.
Right. So what, I guess this leads into what I'm about to ask you. So what was the hardest part of sharing a life with someone who was on all the time for work, even at home, probably on a Sunday too, sometimes?
Definitely. The hardest part was you were present physically, but not mentally. And that was the hardest part, seeing you there and wanting to connect, but not being able to. That was the most hurtful part, I reckon.
When you say that, I was going to ask you that. So how did you feel? You felt hurt?
Yeah, it was, you're there, but we can't touch you.
What do you mean by that?
Well, we couldn't grab your attention long enough for you to connect emotionally.
And when you say we, you're talking about you and the kids?
Yeah.
And do you mean that from like my head was always spinning?
Yeah, or you were constantly thinking about the next thing that you have to do. I mean, look, as a business owner myself, and having to juggle kids and a life and all of the things that go on, I get how stressful it is and how many things are constantly on that mental to-do list. And I think what I searched for through, our communication over 6 years of therapy was trying to get you to learn, I guess, how to have brief moments where you could connect. It didn't have to be all the time, but just those moments where no one was calling, just stop, put it down, connect, engage, and be there. But that is a really hard skill that, I still struggle to learn in my daily life as well.
What was my inability to connect, what do you think was going through my head? Not from a perspective of like, I've got to return this call, I've forgotten about the 27 things on my to-do list. What do you think the inner dialogue was that I had at that point in time?
I think the inner dialogue is, what are these conversations? How am I putting this deal together? Do I have someone for this sale? The auction's on Saturday. Like, who do I have to contact? What are the next moves moving forward? How's my pipeline? Like, the list is endless. It's a constant shopping list of things to do.
What
An anxiety that's probably filled around that. Am I doing enough?
What about energetically?
I think energetically, you guys run on adrenaline. It's that next deal. It's that next dopamine hit. It is the next. And I think to come off those adrenaline hits and be present is really difficult because you have to stop. And then that in your world is a crash.
Yeah, what's stopping?
What's that?
So if you could give one piece of advice to someone who's about to marry a real estate agent, what would it be?
Don't do it.
I knew you were going to say that. You're going to offend a lot of people by saying
My
that.
future husband is not going to be in real estate.
Okay. But what advice would you give?
I think my advice would be clarify your values before you go into it. Have proactive conversations, real conversations around logistical things. Are we going to do a date night twice a week? What does it look like? Create a routine when you get home. The phone goes down. You get in the car, you come home, you do your phone calls on the way home. 5 minutes before you walk in the door, you decompress, you slow down your mind. You walk in the door, you say hi, you connect, you engage. Just structuring those little moments where you can connect is important. And then obviously asking your partner to do some heavy therapy so they can deal with the dopamine hits and the crashes and, coming up on those highs and lows and what that looks like to them. It isn't sustainable for you guys either long term.
Yeah. What do you mean by that?
I seen you break in exhaustion and seen the highs and the lows and the crashes and the falls. You learn a lot on the lows, which is great, but I think you can do it proactively rather than reactively, or at least have a plan to do it proactively.
Do you think that I think I know the answer to this as well, but this is just for context for people listening. You know how you saw me break? Did that happen? Was that cyclical? Did that happen? So what, like, if you had to describe that?
I'd say you have 2 a year. To be exact.
Okay. And when would that happen?
Usually there was one around sort of mid-year and end of year. And then there's a freak out stage in February. Where's my work coming?
Jeez.
And that's pretty much like clockwork.
Maybe before we move on the point about the real estate topic specifically, what were the good things about being married to an agent?
You like good cars, and I like good cars too, so that's a positive.
Okay.
No, I think I loved listening to your conversations. I gathered a lot of information hearing you talk. It was very inspiring. I loved seeing you workshop a situation, and I always gained little nuggets here and there. It was really good.
What about from a lifestyle point of view?
What lifestyle?
Oh, gee. Okay.
Well, you work 6 days a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I think really in terms of a lifestyle perspective, like one thing that I did really admire is, you had to be disciplined with your time and disciplined in your life. And that was an admirable quality that I loved.
Thank you. What about, like, I just have to touch on it in case someone's thinking about it. What about the fact that we had support? So we had a nanny, like a cleaner. We live in the suburb that we wanted to live in. We lived in a nice house. We had flexibility, but I'm starting to question.
The money is a bonus. Yes, it is.
Okay. It's just a bonus?
It's a bonus, but I think, I remember saying to you many times in therapy, I would rather have my husband than all these things.
Okay. Well, that's fair. And I don't want to, let's just be clear, we're not rich. Yeah.
No, but
and when we talk about money, we're just saying, like, that's the benefits that come with anybody.
For sure. But you work so hard for the money. People think you don't, but you do.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. It's taxing.
It's taxing.
Can we reflect for a second? What do you remember most about the early days? So before, maybe not before life got busy, but before kids, before, say, I guess my business went to a certain level, before your business went to a certain level, like before all these things. So what do you remember about those early days?
The freak outs were more frequent.
What do you mean by that?
I think, when we first got together, you had started at Bresic Whitney and I had started my first business in interior design. So we were both pretty busy. I think, in fact, I might have been a little bit busier than you at that stage, and you were wanting some of my attention. So, look, I think, we were both very much hustling and grinding in those early phases when we were together. And, but I think naturally for you, you've been doing this for so many years. I think you've got this amazing ability to have a really strong confidence in what you do, and that, your skills and your attributes will shine through.
What do you think? What do you think we brought out in each other? And again, I'm talking about before kids.
Positives or negatives?
Or the best and the worst.
I think we brought out, but pre-kids, I think we were definitely a better team. I think we both had our own lives going on. We both had our own things going on. I think we understood that and we supported each other in that. I think post kids, it was what the fuck just happened to our life? Like, it's just been tipped upside down. How do we juggle this? And I think that's when the wheels fell off, because you were still doing your thing, but my life changed like that. And I was like, wait a minute, we both need to adjust here.
Yeah. And do you feel like so we've got 2 kids aged 5 and 7. Was that after the first, or are we talking about, when you say that, are we talking about when we were right in the thick of it? Do we have 2 kids on the 2 at one point?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. What was the hardest part?
I think the hardest part for me was my life completely changed. And I think what I felt really lonely in was that I think you felt the pressure of the fact that we've got a family. I need to do this more so than ever for my family. So you dived deeper into work. I was full family mode, new life, comprehending it all. And I think you, when I reached out, I guess, for can we connect a little bit so we don't lose our relationship, that's when, you were still in, I'm doing this for my family, I'm doing this for my family, I'm doing this for my family.
Yeah. I had forgotten about that. I'd forgotten that I actually became my dad.
Yeah, you
The
did.
second we had Oscar, I was like, shit, I've got so much responsibility and I want the best. And the best was...
in a monetary sense.
Yeah.
And you put so much pressure on yourself for a financial sense, but you were missing all the goodness in between.
So when you look back, what do you think were the warning signs that we ignored?
I don't think we ignored them. You maybe ignored them. I didn't. I was trying to be super proactive about them. We did therapy. We did all the things. We just couldn't hear each other. That's it.
Yeah.
I think we probably should have set our values and our attentions around and aligned our values better before we had kids.
So when you say that to a couple listening to this now, how do they do that? What does that look like?
Well, what does your value system look like? How do we treat our children? How do we communicate with our children? Is it a priority to have family members looking after our children? How do you want to be treated when you have children? They're all hypotheticals. And how do we still prioritize our relationship above anything? Because if your relationship as parents falls down, everything crumbles beneath it. So you have to work individually, you have to be good, your relationship, and then everything else. So is that a priority? Should we make it a priority? Just the basics.
Do you know what I found not confusing, but I think like there are stages to a relationship. There's like you meet someone and there's infatuation, and that can be like 3 months or 6 months or up to 2 years.
You mean love bombing?
No, that's infatuation, but there is love bombing. Then you've got like a relationship where there aren't children, and then I don't think you know how you're going to behave as a parent until you have children, because you just like it's like you have a kid And then this new software, like it's like your system doesn't update without you even telling it to do an update. And then you don't even realize it. You're holding this kid and you've got like all these new beliefs and
Well, you don't. You have your learned beliefs,
yeah.
right? And unless you understand what your beliefs are or talk about them or formulate your set of beliefs as a couple, you've just got your learned beliefs and they take over.
Understood.
And your learned beliefs are not always what you intentionally want to do moving forward.
It's what was modeled to you.
It was what was modeled.
But that's what I'm saying. What was modeled to you was different to what was modeled to me, if we're talking about this part of parenting. So you can't actually figure that out or understand what your values are until you have a kid, because then you're like, well, I think we should do this. And you're like, no, I think we should do that. And that's where you start to come together.
I kind of disagree on that. I mean, I was modeled something my whole life, but I disagreed with my modeling predominantly. And I went into parenting doing a lot of therapy on what I wanted to be like as a parent
Yeah.
to change and rewire.
So can you tell me more about that?
I mean, how long have we got? But look, I think there's simple things like how do you want to communicate with your children? How do you want to lead as a parent? Back in your day, back in my day, we got smacked. Simple things like that. Is that the way? Do you want to lead with fear-based parenting? Because otherwise your reactions and your modeled behavior just takes over with no thought.
Well,
So I think what I'm saying is, to go back to your question, is have some clear definitions. You may not nail it, and it will be a work in progress. It's not defined. This is the way we're going to be. It is it. But at least you're going into it with some thought, and maybe it opens up topics of areas that you feel like you need to work on.
Yeah. I think when I reflect on that, me personally, I thought because I had a great childhood, a loving childhood, that what was modeled to me was the right way. And I had no awareness around, whether I had an opinion on whether that was right or wrong. But
Yeah.
I started to form an opinion on that when you started to challenge me. And I've said from day one, you are the best mom I've ever observed. The most incredible mother. So yeah, it was almost observing you. So it would have been hard for me.
I appreciate your train of thought. Like it was opposite for me because it was so, chaotic with step parents and mum and, dad and everything that, it was almost pushed to the forefront. Deal with this before you have kids.
Yeah.
Which
I
was
wasn't
different
there.
from you.
Yeah. I'm curious about this. Do you think there was a moment when you knew in your gut that it wasn't going to work?
I think there were many. I think I ignored them for a long time because I wanted to keep our family together. I think probably maybe 6 or 7 years ago when we started going to therapy a lot, that was probably it.
God. Okay. What have you learned about yourself through the breakdown of our marriage that you might not have learned otherwise?
I have learnt that I don't respect my own boundaries and I don't set clear boundaries for myself. And that which it can be relatable to your industry, causes me to have extreme highs and extreme lows. And it caused me to break my own set of values when it came to you. And I think, I think definitely that contributed to part of our breakdown because I didn't stand up for what I needed.
And when you say that, are you talking about?
I'll give you an example,
Perfect.
a light-handed example.
Sure.
So one of my things that I repeated on repeat through therapy was I need him to come in the door and say hi to me and engage. Kiss me, hug me, and engage, even if it's for 5 minutes. I mean, I can't make you do that, but I think I didn't, when I knew you weren't going to do it or you didn't engage it, I just let it go and I just sunk into myself instead of initiating it myself because I was disappointed or let down. So I contributed just as much to you in those patterns.
By not
Standing up and
Standing
going,
up.
okay, we're doing this today.
Can I share something with you about that? And I know you'll probably prove me wrong, but I thought that when I got home, I always ran straight to the kids. And I thought as their mother, I don't think the same now. I'm just sharing with you. As their mother, that would have made you more happy than anything else. The father running to his children and embracing his children and, like creating that energy. And then I thought to come to you. But sometimes I missed you
That
altogether.
wasn't the problem.
What was the problem?
The problem was when you walked in, most of the time you didn't go to anyone.
I did go to the kids. Come on, that's harsh.
Oh, you were on the
That's not fair.
phone. A lot of the times you were dealing with something. You were like, no, I can't do this right now. Everyone go away. So it was that you were walking in stressed, dealing with something, And I think, you wanted to get inside because maybe you were late or, it's circumstantial. But, having some guidelines around that can set yourself up for success. Just the way someone will, in the beginning of their career in real estate, they might have a template of what are the types of things that they can say on a phone call. It's the same with your marriage.
Yeah.
You create a set of guidelines that works for both of you.
So is an example of that what you're saying? I come home and I greet you first? Is that what you mean? Am I hearing you?
Can I tell you, I didn't realize it wasn't until our therapist told us that we're the primary and then the kids come after that it became that order for me.
Yeah.
I was just happy if you did me somewhere in the line.
Sure.
Well,
I did put the kids as the primary.
Yeah, and that wasn't a problem for me at all. I think it's just when we forget each other consistently that it becomes an issue.
Yeah. What do you think I still don't fully understand about you, even now?
I don't feel like you can hear me. I don't feel like you understand what I need still or what I needed.
Can I have an example?
It's been a while since we've been together, but I think when you're communicating with someone, just especially your partner, just being present.
Can I give you what I think is an example?
Sure.
So when I still remember fairly vividly because it upset you so much, you called me and I was at work and you were having a bit of a meltdown about something that had happened at work. And instead of hearing you and perhaps saying to you that like, I'm hearing you and I'm really sorry that you feel that way, I sort of launched at you and tried to fix the problem.
But it screamed at me at the same time.
I don't think you were listening to me, so I had to scream.
But yeah, I think that's an age-old problem with men. You guys want to fix something.
And then I remember, I think I may have come home that day. I don't know if we're already separated or not. And you're on the lounge. And then I got even more angry because I was like, well, if you're not happy, why are you sitting on the lounge? Why aren't you doing something about it? Because I say that because in my world, maybe it's my own inner dialogue. And I don't think I would ever speak to somebody the way I speak to myself, but I couldn't actually understand that. And it sort of frustrated. I'm just being really honest with you.
Yeah.
It frustrated me more. I'm like, hang on. So you're struggling. Why are you at fucking home?
I think the reality is, I think in a lot of situations in our marriage, I think we're better now, ironically, but in a lot of situations in our marriage and in a lot of marriages, it's crucial not to judge the other person and just to understand them.
Yeah.
And I feel like you judged me and you didn't try and understand me.
Definitely not in that instance. And yeah. Do you feel
And
like
that's what I'm saying. I don't feel like you could understand me or hear me.
do you feel like you judged me?
I'm sure there were times that I did, for sure. But I feel like I tried to always understand you or support whatever journey you were going through and rationalize it in my head so I could support you.
What do you think, or where do you think I've grown the most since we separated?
I think your priorities have changed.
Can you tell me what you think they are now?
I think you prioritize family more than you ever did.
Anything else?
I think you prioritize your health more. And I do think you prioritize connection more.
What do you mean by connection?
Like actually slowing down and connecting and not being on those crazy dopamine hits. But, you know, I also don't spend as much time with you. So
Did
wouldn't
you
know.
remember how I never really had many friends?
Oh, there's that for sure. I always was like, can you get a life?
Yeah.
I've got one. Can you get one?
Yeah.
I don't want to be your whole life.
Yeah.
I know that was good. That
But
was good.
I did love you. And I did like not only did I love you, I don't want to use the word obsessed because that's not, but I was committed
I
in
mean,
my
you're
mind.
only human.
Yeah.
But you know, look. I think you know, you were grappling with being a dad too, and what that meant. And I think, you know, in the first 5 years of a family life, a new family, it's a shock to the system for anyone. You're like, what happened? I've been living a certain way my whole life, and it was all good. And then you've got to reinvent yourself. It's a change of season in your life, you know, and you've got to do it while being a parent. And then all these things come up for you that you didn't even know were dormant inside you. And you've got to deal with them at the same time and be present and loving and not triggered and react in a different way and run a business and manage a whole household and finances that you never thought you would ever have. Adulting is hard. Like, it's really hard.
Yeah. I think from a finance perspective, our life was expensive, really
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah.
But that was a conscious decision that we made.
We did prioritize it. We prioritized expensive holidays. We both like shopping budgets.
I didn't shop much then. I shop more now.
You shopped more than you thought.
Not really. I think that's interesting because your identity is something that does change. Again, I still see it as a fork in the road. You have a kid, you don't have children, you have children, and your identity changes and you grapple with like, who am I now?
Yeah.
And
who am I now? What am I doing? How am I doing it? Like it takes him, and you're still doing everything at the same time. So it takes a while for you to catch up and figure it out.
Do you know something? I've never thought about this, but I'm thinking about it now. Do you know what my biggest fear was as a father and husband, or I should say a husband and father? Do you know what my biggest fear was?
What?
Not being able to take care of my family, like feeling like my family wasn't safe, secure, had options.
Of course, that's a huge responsibility on your shoulders as a father. You know, you very quickly became the sole breadwinner of our family. You know, it's huge. It's huge. And especially coming from a family who, you know, that there's somewhat of a fear-based mentality around money. You know,
it was fear that obviously
was fear.
It was fear that if I don't take that phone call, then
how do I put food on the table?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When there was plenty of opportunity to put food on the table.
But we always understood that. Like I always, and I don't think we ever doubted you. I think it's just your conditioning that really took over.
You know what's interesting? You said this, and I feel like it was a fair comment. I said I want to provide for the family, but at some point you said to me, do you? Because you still behave the same way before we had kids. So is it not your ego that wants the success? You still think that?
Definitely a part of it. I mean, you can't be a real estate agent without an ego. It's just the way it is. You know, like I think, you know, you are in a environment where it is dog eat dog and everything's a competition.
Yeah.
Like I'm a competitive person. You know, you've seen me playing cards or any sporting activity. Like I'm competitive. I get it. Like, and a lot of that is your ego.
Yeah.
Saying do harder, win more. What if that guy in the office does more sales than me and I'm a senior? Like, not a good look. So, you know, it definitely plays a part.
I did have a belief as well that if I wasn't leading from the front, I didn't have the right to tell others what to do.
For sure.
So
and
I
I think
put
that's what
myself-
every leader has to grapple with.
Well, I put that pressure on myself that basically I had to be everything. A dad, a transactional agent, one of the top agents. It's wild when you think about it. What's one thing that you'd go back and do differently, not to save the relationship, but just for your own peace of mind?
This is going to come out really harsh, but I would have ended it sooner.
Fair enough. When do you
because I think we did more damage in the end to each other.
When would you have done that?
Before I self-destructed. I don't even remember when that was.
In the context of children, was that before or after?
Oh, no. After children.
After Mimi?
Yeah.
Fair enough. That's honest. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Do you think it's possible to fully forgive someone if you're still not with them?
Yeah. I forgive you.
Yeah.
That's why we're here today.
Fair enough.
I forgive you. I love you. I want the best for you. If you're not a happy person and you're the father of my children, it's only going to affect them. And I want the best for you.
Yeah. That's a hard one right now because when I think about my goals, at the top of the list is my health, because we all know that without health, then you can't be a parent or, you know, you can't be a human. Then I have the children and then I have you. And your well-being is up there before most other things as well, because I see it the same way, that if you're not happy and you're not living your best life, then the children don't get the best of you. And just for those that are listening, we co-parent 50-50. We're about to talk about parenting now.
Well, look at that. We finally got our values aligned. Only took a separation.
So
yeah, anyone who's listening, do this before, not after.
Not after, yeah. I think it's easier to get along now when you're not together.
Oh, for sure.
What do you think?
Like, I joked with you the other day. I was like, oh my God, that was the most manipulative thing you've ever said. And usually if I said that, you would have been like, I don't know, probably tried to manipulate me again. But you actually laughed. And it was funny because it just ended at that. And it was a joke.
I don't think you're talking to me.
Here we go. The manipulation begins.
Here we go. Well, I think I remember the conversation.
Anyway, I think it's just good because it's like disarming. You know, the reality is the relationship is lost. So there's not much to prove from here.
Fair. Let's talk about parenting and co-parenting. So we co-parent 50-50 and we use the system 2-2-3, 2 days on, 2 days off, 3 days on. And that, just for context, the 3 days is a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So we alternate weeks. That's what works for us now. We have the support of a nanny who picks the kids up from school and helps us with various things, including dinners and lunches, etc., and just everything that the kids do. So how has parenting together, while no longer being together, changed you as a mother and a person?
I think it has given me time off to recover and to have some time to myself. And I think that makes me a better mother. I think I miss them so much. So when I see them, I'm just like, it's on. Instead of, maybe the 2 days a week where I'm really stressed out and struggling and need a hot minute. I think it has enabled me to sort of be a much more intentional mum. And I think I recover in between. So it works great.
Don't you think that's wild that like there are some elements of separation that are actually pretty good?
Yeah.
And one is like, this is what I would say, you've got the kids half the time, but the half that you have them, they have the best version of you. The other half of the time, they have the best version
of the
other parent. And then with that other, like, I'm not encouraging separation
I
here.
think we've just sold it. And did you just sell separation?
Oh, no.
He's that good of a real estate agent,
I still have to share this on the podcast.
Who's getting a commission from this?
No. My lawyer. I still think, actually, just as a funny note, I still remember vividly Benny down at the gym asking me after a couple of months. He said to me, Adrian, you look great at the moment.
He dines out on this story.
Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And I was like, mate, I separated. And he was like, oh my God. It was the best.
Look, I mean, I think we were both really unhappy in the end. Like, of course, like, I don't believe that you should stick out at something if it's not working. Like, I think our relationship is so great now because we're not together. And yes, it is to get to the point where we're just on the precipice of now of communicating well and being good co-parents. It's been a fucking shit show. Like, we've had to hurdle through deep mud, and we've still got many challenges to come. We have not nailed it yet. But yes, I think this is what I talk to you about all the time. It's about what are our values now and how do we be proactive now as co-parents.
Yeah, we have to learn to do out of a relationship what we couldn't do in relationship.
Yeah.
Because fundamentally, the one thing that we are absolutely aligned about is that the children come first.
Exactly. And that means having a positive relationship with each other, supporting each other, and everything that comes with it.
What's one thing you're proud of? What's one thing you're proud of us when it comes to how we're raising our children after divorce?
I think it goes without saying, just the kids' mentality and how they've dealt with that, and how they are as human beings is, proof in the pudding.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of, even through our most difficult times, how we have been able to come together for their sake and how to be proactive for them.
Yeah. They're happy,
and
aren't they?
support them.
They're happy kids, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, their teachers even say, like, you wouldn't even know anything's going on.
Yeah, that's true. That's nice. I love that. Do you think we've finally found the new normal, or is it still work in progress?
Definitely work in progress.
Yeah, I think so too.
But we're on the path and we're talking about it, and that's all that matters. As long as we keep the communication and the dialogue open, we're workshopping a new normal and what the new normal is to us and our family.
There's no rules around it, is there?
No. And I think all the old rules are not rules current, and, we make our own decisions around this. But I mean, we've definitely got some new hurdles. What happens when one of us gets a partner?
What are you trying to say?
Well, that'll be interesting.
No, I'm just kidding.
His name is Bob.
I wasn't planning to talk about this, but I think we should touch on it. So I actually think that the lowest vibration activity in the world, and no offense to the divorce lawyers out there, but is talking to a divorce lawyer.
Oh, it's fucking brutal.
We both spend a lot of money, and our relationship, our happiness and how we felt correlated to the more the lawyers were in our life, it actually, it makes you shudder a little bit, doesn't it? I feel
I've
the same
got trauma, PTSD.
way. I feel the same way. And
We ended up coming to an agreement between ourselves.
I think we came to every agreement without the lawyers.
And I went against my lawyers 90% of the time.
As did I. And that's the irony about all this, because when I look at it from a higher sort of perspective.
You know what? I'm proud of us for that then. That's
definitely,
good. Prioritizing us in those moments.
I think I just want to share this so others can learn from it. This is what I learned because, as you know, I had a lawyer, I changed lawyers, and I went back to the same lawyer. And that's because...
It was one of the best things ever. Oh, my God.
Well, that's because I thought I was smarter than the system. But the reality... Well, yeah. But the reality is that they're doing the best that they can, but they're not trying to resolve a conflict and do that in a loving, respectful way. They're trying to do it in a way where they love and respect their client, and they're trying to get the best deal for their client. But in the process of doing that, they can
strip a family from it.
Strip a family and rip them to pieces and take a lot of money as well.
Yeah. And it's not what's best for the community.
No.
It's I-based.
I couldn't get my head around. There are, I think, and again, if you listen to this and you're going through this, I think there are mediators who specialize in like a happy mediation type arrangement where they've been in the system, but you go to them. But I found that process debilitating, and I found my dignity being ripped apart around, like I joke with you saying, I must have like a Swiss bank account with $100 million that I squirreled away that nobody ever saw. Like,
I'm still trying to find that.
Yeah. Well, good luck. But that was debilitating. And the quicker you get them out of your life, the better it is. But that does require...
That's our experience.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't suit everyone, obviously. If you cheated on me, I probably would have wanted them a little bit more.
To hurt, yeah.
Yeah, but I think, I think then, that's not serving your family anyway. It takes two to tango in any relationship, and we both contributed to the breakdown of our relationship. The only thing that we want out of life and the only thing we wanted in marriage is the same thing that we want now, a happy family.
Yeah.
And to be happy individually as well. And so that just needs to be the priority now. It doesn't change. It's just how you do it.
I hear you. So what advice would you give to couples who feel like they're heading down the same path we did?
In terms of a legal sense?
Well, why don't we talk about a legal sense, but also back it up a bit? Do you think we could have saved it? Like, I understand that maybe not with me. Maybe not with me.
I mean,
maybe a normal,
I don't know. Like, we tried so many therapy sessions for 6 years, once a week.
We tried a few.
I feel like I threw the kitchen sink at it.
Can I share with you what a light bulb moment was for me?
Yeah, share.
And this is maybe directed to some of the males listening because we can be challenging. I get it. But the light bulb moment for me was observing our daughter Mimi when she had a tantrum one time. And I realized her having a tantrum, like if you had a tantrum, I'm just being dramatic, and you said things like, I don't like this, I want to go, I'd be like, there's a door, see you later. But I wouldn't say that to a 4-year-old. So if Mimi said, I don't love you, Dad, I wouldn't say there's the door. I would try and understand what's going on for her. So, it took a long time to have a moment where I would say to her...
I never realized you figured that out.
Well, there's
beautiful.
There's two instances. No, I just realized that you're a big Mimi.
No shit.
Oh,
you're a big Oscar.
Well, yeah. You're just a 30-something 3-year-old. Well,
firstly, she's 5, but yeah.
Well, I figured it out when she was 3. But I remember saying, Mimi, I know you're telling me to go away, but thanks to Instagram and all the parenting shit you hear, what that really meant is that she wanted me to go closer. They're the cues that I missed. And I also think, and I just want to share this because I think this is a really important one. I remember Oscar, when we were at my parents' one time, Oscar's our son, This would have been maybe 12 months ago. We were playing a game and he lost and he got super frustrated because he's become a little bit competitive in, the last year or so. And I remember he stormed off and he went into the bedroom and he closed the door. And I was thinking like, what do I do? So I walked to the bedroom door and I remember saying to him very clearly, like, Oscar, I can hear that you're upset and I understand what it feels like to lose. It actually hurts. But how can I support you right now?
Well, the training paid off.
Yeah, I just used it on the kids.
How can I support you?
I just missed you. I got it got it right on the kids. And I still remember
I was modeling that behavior to the kids, and
you've done that. You did that naturally. You
Yeah.
always did that naturally.
But it's also not like I had to put a lot of thought into the parent that I was going to be. It takes me a lot of work to consistently show up in a patient, supporting, loving way with different dialogue that I never got.
But you were very nurturing. And the irony is that from what I understand, like that's what probably attracted to me a lot, like what attracted me to you. The fact that I felt nurtured and heard and seen and validated because you do that so naturally. But just going back to that example of Oscar, I still remember saying to him, how do I support you right now? And I remember saying, go away. And I said, well, would you like some space? And then around about the same time, my mum was in the kitchen and she went to sort of yell something out like, come on, Oscar, like something encouraging. I was like, no, Mum, just leave him alone. He wants space. And I went away and then my mum actually called out and said, he's calling you again. And I went up to the door and I said, what's going on, Oscar? And he said, I want to talk to you. And then we just had a moment where I tickled him and like I said, oh, do you want to cuddle? And it was over. And I thought, oh, fuck, if only I could have done that in a relationship.
Well, you can with the most important relationship now in your life, your kids.
Well, and I think I do my best to do that for the kids.
So, that's like a real positive. Like, look what you got out of that.
So how do you define success in a relationship now?
I define success in a relationship where, you have open dialogue, you can communicate effectively with each other. It doesn't mean that you're on the same levels as each other, but it means that you try and understand and you try and support the other person.
Example?
Hypothetically, just a basic example, when you decided to go balls deep in a carnivore diet and you pretty much judged everyone for eating anything else other than just raw meat all the time,
It wasn't raw, but go on, yeah.
I understood you and supported you through that journey. Did I think it was going to be a fad? For sure. But, and did I make simple suggestions like, maybe like a little bit of greens here or there, or, did I research into the diet so I could understand you better? Yes, I did. Did I judge you or put you down? Did I support you in the food that was purchased? Of course. Like just going through someone's journey with them and being there along the ride. You can offer advice, you can offer support, but I guess we all go through different stages and different lives, different learnings, different times, and that's just part of life. So
what did I always say to you? Like, what was my number one gripe, rightly or wrongly? I'm just sharing with you because I think there's a common thread here with a lot of men. What did I say to you that I never felt?
Appreciated.
Yeah. And why do you think I said that?
I think you mistook me saying, hey, I need this connection point as you're not good enough. And me asking for something mean that what you were doing was not good enough. And 90% of the time it was pretty simple, like, hey, I want to connect. It didn't mean that you were bad or what you were doing was not good enough. I just needed a bit more.
Fair.
And in a different way. That's
you know, when we go back to this money side of things, when you sent our nanny those $3,000 earrings for Mother's Day, what did you think I would do?
Here comes the dig. We're at the end of the podcast. He had to get it in.
Not a dig, but maybe just a good. What?
I thought you'd buy them.
Yeah. So you knew exactly what you were doing.
100%.
And I did that because I saw that as you deserving those because you're a good mum.
Yes, and I do deserve them because I am a good mum. Thank you very much. They're beautiful.
Jeez. And then can we just touch, this is my, I've got I've got a point to make because I just think this is interesting because I wanted to give you a platform to explain it now. So you know that narcissist comment? I know this is contentious, but I don't think I've ever met
An ex
ex that doesn't call their, well, again, I know I'm being sexist here, but I'm just mainly talking about females because I feel like most men are labeled as narcissist. So I would say,
and we're gold digging whores, so you know.
well, I didn't say that, but I didn't say that. Are you projecting?
Here we go. Okay, so ask the question.
Well, I don't have a fact checker, but from what I understand, 2% of men are narcissist, right? But why are 100% of ex-boyfriends narcissist?
Well, what the explanation I can give to you on that, which is I don't think you're a narcissist. I believe everyone has narcissistic qualities in them. There's narcissistic traits in my kids sometimes, you know, but I think it's how many of those narcissistic traits we use in our everyday life that formulate whether we're a narcissist or not. Now, do I think you're a, narcissist? No. Do I think you exhibit a lot of narcissistic qualities? Yes. But I don't think, I don't know, maybe we should do a test. I don't know. Give it a go. No, I don't think you're a narcissist, but I do think, obviously when we're angry, we say things. But do I think there is some narcissistic qualities? Yeah, I do. But I also think I exhibit sometimes too.
I'm saying it as a joke because I hear it all the time. And I'm like, where is...
I'm just going to clear it up for the gals,
Yeah, fair. And I'm open to feedback. Like I'm obviously not biting back on it. I don't think I'm biting back on anything, am I? So I'm open to it because I do want to grow as a person and I'm interested in another opinion. I don't have to agree with it, right? No. But I do agree with most of what you said. So I'm just saying that as a funny point because I hear that a lot and I just wonder like, why does that keep happening? But my last point.
Yeah.
What's one thing you genuinely wish for me in the future?
I wish you can find you're happy with someone and create what, a loving, beautiful relationship that our kids can be a part of, that hopefully I can, still be a part of, not like in your relationship with a new person, but like,
what are you trying to say?
I hope you can find you're happy with someone and I am going to be fully supportive of whatever that looks like. I hope both of us can learn so much from this and take that growth into our future and how amazing it can be.
Well, thank you. Wait,
I have a question.
Yeah.
What do you wish for me?
I wish you good health and I hope that I just want you to live the best life that you could possibly want. So I wish you, a wonderful relationship with our children. I wish you all the success in the world, whatever that is to you through your business, because you're obviously incredibly talented. And I hope that one day you meet someone who makes you feel complete and that person can sincerely offer you all the things that I couldn't offer you because you deserve that.
Yeah.
Well, I just want you to be happy.
I think only I can make myself complete, but I think someone can complement that really well, and I hope I find him.
I hope you do too. My closing comment is that, what's really ironic about this podcast? I tried to start a podcast, I think it might have been in 2021.
Yep.
And you were supposed to be the first guest.
I know, full circle.
and the topic was how to build a successful marriage. And ironically, I think 8 weeks after we separated.
Yeah. And it's
That
funny
shows you
how
how,
it
like-
didn't happen. Yeah.
It just shows you how, like, I wasn't even, I don't know, like, it's just wild that it didn't even cross my mind that we could have, like, there could have been that sort of thing happening. And also just for the listeners, you know, the breakdown of our marriage wasn't some sort of big event. It wasn't like something happened. There was no infidelity or anything like that. It was probably, as you can probably tell, lots of little things that just chipped away and chipped away and chipped away. So anyway, Chloe, thank you.
Thank you.
You are the most amazing mother. I love you.
You are the most amazing dad. I love you too.
Thank you for coming on.